irritable, you're feeling, maybe depressed, maybe low mood, just new mood changes that are not you. Like, what is going on? I hear this from a lot of patients. I've heard this from a lot of patients lately. And I know even family members and friends that I've talked to over the years that have felt this. You hit this place often in your 40s where it doesn't even feel like you. I had somebody describe this as it wasn't even like, oh, I'm just sad, or it was like a new level of depression or just really mood changes that was kind of out of control. Like, it wasn't just a mood swing that was like, oh, I can just choose to have a good day and I feel better. I remember somebody explaining to me as that felt very out of control for them. And so today I want to talk about how, if you're feeling that, if you're in your 40s, you're feeling really new irritability that's like just not like you, right? You're normally like more go with the flow, happier, and you're just feeling yourself maybe with your spouse or your partner, your kids, at work, just this new level of irritability. Or maybe you're having a new low mood. Like, you've never struggled with depression before, but like this is something where you're considering, like, do I need to be on medication? That's what I've heard from a lot of women before, is that is it's just kind of severe. Like, again, not something that you can just choose to be out of. So today I want to talk about what might be going on hormonally that's triggering that, and why, if you're trying, some women have gone and they've tried things like Zoloft, which is like an SSRI or a SNRI, or other psychiatric medications, why those might not be helping, because the problem is really, drum roll, an estrogen problem. So when last week I talked about, in some of these lives, I talked about what's going on in menopause. So early menopause, we have a drop in progesterone. Our estrogen can kind of be all over the place. In later menopause, we have that drop in progesterone and estrogen. And it's actually estrogen that might be playing a role if you're feeling this irritability or low mood, depression, whatever you want to call it. And there's 4 big reasons why. Just talking about how it works. Okay. So if you want to you're like, I don't care how it works, I'm just going to take it and run with it, right? Estrogen might be playing a role, but there's 4 big ways that estrogen affects our serotonin. So that's why a doctor might say, hey, let's put you on paroxetine. So Paxil, that's actually off-labeled for menopause or menopausal symptoms. And so that does affect serotonin levels. But the reason why, so when we have that drop in estrogen affects serotonin in 4 big ways. So one, it stimulates something called tryptophan hydroxylase. Anything with an ACE and an N is an enzyme. So it's an enzyme that helps convert tryptophan, which is an amino acid, to serotonin. So tryptophan, amino acids, really quickly, when you eat protein, right? You've probably heard of tryptophan when, like, we have Thanksgiving dinner and you're like, oh, tryptophan, I'm so tired, right? Turkey is a good source of tryptophan, but tryptophan is an amino acid that eventually gets converted into serotonin. And so estrogen stimulates that enzyme. So when we lose estrogen in perimenopause, later perimenopause, when estrogen's going low, we lose that stimulation of that enzyme that's helping to make serotonin. 4 other ways. So literally, this hit is so huge when you have a big drop in estrogen. So that was number 1. Number 2 is that estrogen increases the sensitivity of the serotonin receptors in the brain. So you have receptors in your brain at the synapse. So you have 2 nerve cells like come together, and there's a space called the synapse. And this is where your neurotransmitters or your brain chemicals move from one neuron to the next neuron. And so estrogen affects the sensitivity. So you could have serotonin there, but if that receptor is just not sensitive, it's not ready to receive that serotonin molecule, right? It's like somebody's knocking on the door, but nobody's opening the door. Nobody's there to open the door to let the serotonin in, right? So estrogen then affects that. The other thing is that estrogen inhibits something called monoamine oxidase. It inhibits the monoamine oxidase enzyme. And what this is, it's the enzyme that breaks down serotonin. So I think what it does is it actually causes the quicker breakdown of serotonin, the way that it affects that enzyme. So you're going to clear your serotonin more quickly. You might have heard of medications. There are medications for depression that are monoamine oxidase inhibitors. The other thing is that estrogen influences the transport. So I just talked about like that synapse between one nerve cell and the next nerve cell. And so estrogen is going to affect that estrogen moving from the one neuron to the next neuron at that synapse. And so okay, let's look at it big picture. If you don't care about any of that, you lose your estrogen, like your serotonin is going to take a hit big time. In some women, this is more severe than others. I know some women who have only had depression as their menopausal symptom. Like they kind of like had some, like a little bit of hot flashes, maybe a little bit of change in like sex drive or things like that. But depression was their main symptom. That's because of how estrogen is going to affect serotonin. So if this is you, if you're hearing this, you're maybe in your later 40s, maybe you could be earlier 40s, and you're having that irritability, that low mood, depressive symptoms, that's just not you. Before somebody tries you on, another maybe SSRI, Zoloft, something like that, consider getting your hormones tested and seeing maybe you have low estrogen levels, which is then contributing to those mood swings and those mood changes. So I'm Lori Aikman. If you're listening to this and you haven't heard anything I've done before, I'm a functional medicine nurse practitioner. I help women in their 40s get to the root cause of their symptoms so that they can have the energy, the health, the vitality that they need to continue to make the impact that they want to in the world. So many of the women that I work with have a bigger vision of life with their family, or maybe in their business, maybe they're entrepreneurs, and they're really just looking to, one woman said to me, just slow the aging process so she can feel as good as she can for as long as she can and continue to make that impact. So I hope this was helpful. Stay tuned, subscribe wherever you're listening for more lives each day as I come and talk about optimal health through functional medicine with you. All right, have a great day.